What's up, guys and gals? Today is a special kind of video, a twofer if you will, a two-in-one, a BOGO, or rather, WOGO? Or maybe a VOGO. It's two videos in one. This is 5 myths about the French Revolution and 5 enemies of King Louis XVI. Let's get to work. Don't forget to hit that like button to help me get to the goal of 5 likes. First, 5 myths about the French Revolution. Number 1. The revolution invented the guillotine. The device had actually been used since the Middle Ages, and the Frenchman named Joseph Guillotine suggested its use for a less painful way of execution for those who were sentenced to death. Joseph was actually against the death penalty and wanted to abolish it. The last person killed by a guillotine was a convicted murderer in 1977. In France, the death penalty was abolished for good in September of 1981. Number 2. Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." She never actually said that. The French people didn't like her and called her a murderous, sexually insatiable lesbian, but only because they thought that she would betray them to their enemies. Number 3. The French Revolution was an uprising of the poor. The revolution actually began amongst the wealthy weeks before the fall of the Bastille. Number 4. Maximilien Robespierre was a bloodthirsty dictator. He was merely a mentally unstable member of the Public Safety Committee on a power trip, which led to his ultimate demise along with several of his allies. Number 5. The Bastille was a bastion of torture, evil, and political oppression where innocent citizens were held by the tyrant King Louis XVI. When the Bastille was stormed on July 14, 1789, it only held 7 prisoners. 4 counterfeiters, 2 madmen, and 1 nobleman accused of sexual perversion. The revolutionaries marched on the prison because they had the gunpowder that they needed and not to free the 7 prisoners that it did have. Alright guys, now it's time for part 2 of this twofer video. Here's a list of 5 enemies of King Louis XVI. Although I am sure that he had many more, as at the time of his death, his entire country hated him. Number 1. Maximilien Robespierre, the madman on the Public Safety Committee, yeah, that guy, called for the execution of King Louis XVI for treason. Number 2. The people that he governed. By the time of his execution, King Louis XVI was hated by everyone for the financial state that he allowed the country to get into. None of the regular people had food, clothes, or clean water. Number 3. The Third Estate members. This group had the king and queen themselves, so obviously they didn't hate each other. Or maybe they did. It had clergymen, so priests, and then peasants. 2 of the 3 groups wanted him to not be king anymore, and the only way to do that was to kill him. Number 4. Camilla Demannulus. It was a journalist who aided the opposing side in the king's trial for treason. Number 5. Georges Danton, the chief force in the overthrow of the king. He wanted King Louis XVI out bad enough to hold a trial, convince the jury that the king was guilty, and sentence the king to execution. Well, that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. Please hit that like button and subscribe for more messed up history in your sub box every week.